Have you ever felt that gnawing ache in your soul, watching another woman effortlessly capture a man's entire being, while you're left on the outside, desperately trying to figure out the formula? It's not the loudest or most obvious women who achieve this. It's the ones who, with a silent, almost magical subtlety, install themselves in the very center of a man's mind and refuse to leave, becoming his sweetest, most persistent obsession. While you agonize over the perfect text message or the right strategy, they are operating on a completely different plane of existence, a level that isn't seen with the eyes, but is felt in the very depths of the soul. They have mastered a secret, an elegant art of psychological influence so profound that a man finds himself utterly obsessed, without a single clue as to how she did it. If you are listening to this, it's because that resonates with the deepest part of you. You are tired of the empty games and obvious strategies that lead nowhere, tired of trying to be prettier, funnier, or more accommodating, only to realize the attraction you create is fragile, superficial, and always fades, leaving you feeling emptier than before. You feel it, don't you? That there is a missing piece of the puzzle, a sacred key that unlocks not just his passing interest, but a permanent spiritual anchor in the core of his soul. You don't just want him to want you. You seek the power to become the woman he simply cannot stop thinking about. Today, you will receive that key. This is not about more cheap tricks. This is about wielding a powerful psychological secret, rooted in the profound teachings of Carl Jung. I will give you the framework to create an influence so subtle, so deep, that he will believe the obsession was born entirely from within himself. But before we unlock this vault, I have a small but important request. I've noticed that a huge percentage of you who find life-changing value in these videos aren't actually subscribed. By not subscribing, you risk missing the very next piece of the puzzle you've been searching for. So, take 1 second right now to click that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Don't let the algorithm decide when you get to empower yourself. As you do that, I want you to do something amazing. Go to the comments and tell me what city or country you're watching from. I want to see just how far the profound teachings of Carl Jung are reaching to help transform lives across the globe. And of course, give this video a like to signal to the universe and to yourself that you are ready to stop being a fleeting option and start becoming an unforgettable, mesmerizing obsession. In this journey into the male mind, we will unveil the trap of forced obsession. And why do jealousy games and hints always fail? I will reveal to you the principle of psychic inoculation, the art of planting a seed in his mind that grows on its own. And then will come the great game changer. I will teach you the power of becoming the mirror of his hidden greatness, the secret to making him addicted to the version of himself that he only sees by your side. You will learn to administer this emotional drug in intermittent doses. And finally, I will give you the ritual to leave an indelible energetic footprint every time you leave. This is not a video about manipulation. It is a masterclass in deep psychology. So if you are ready to stop being a memorable option and become an unforgettable presence, seal your commitment. Subscribe to the channel right now and activate notifications, because this is the kind of knowledge that gives you the power of subtlety. And give this video a like to declare that you are ready to learn the art of invisible magic, prepared to become his sweetest obsession. Let's begin. Before I reveal the secret of genuine obsession, we must first illuminate and dismantle the trap that 99% of women fall into when they consciously try to become unforgettable to a man. It is the trap of forced obsession. It is born from a fundamentally flawed belief. The idea that to occupy his mind, you have to do something. You have to create constant stimuli. You have to actively remind him that you exist and that you are desirable. And this belief gives birth to an arsenal of obvious tactics that, although they may seem intelligent on the surface, are detected by the radar of the male psyche for what they really are, an attempt at manipulation born from insecurity. What are these tactics? You know them well. It's posting a strategically sexy photo on social media right when you know he's online, waiting for his reaction. It's casually mentioning other men who are after you to try to provoke his jealousy. It's applying a calculated silent treatment, ignoring his messages, not from a place of peace, but from resentment, hoping your silence will make him panic. It's filling your conversations with hints, with little hooks to see if he bites, to get a dose of validation. All of these are actions of doing, forced attempts to manufacture an obsession. But here is the brutal truth you need to understand. A man's unconscious mind is much more intelligent than your strategy. He may not know how to articulate it, but he feels the intention behind your actions. He feels the energy of neediness in your sexy photo. He feels the energy of manipulation in your casual comment about another man. He feels the energy of punishment in your calculated silence. And this energy, instead of generating genuine fascination, creates resistance. His ego, feeling manipulated or pressured, puts up its walls. He might give you a short-term reaction, a like, a jealous message, but you are not creating an obsession, you are creating a power game. And devotion is never born from power games. Imagine the story of a woman we'll call Valeria. She was dating a man who was a bit distant. Desperate to capture his attention, she applied every tactic in the book. She posted spectacular photos. She made sure he knew she had other admirers. She gave him calculated silent treatments, and it worked. At first, he became more reactive, more jealous. He sought her out more. Valeria thought she had won, but the connection was tense, fragile, based on drama. And one day he simply got tired of the game and left, confessing to her, "Being with you feels like a minefield. I never know what your next move is. It's exhausting. Forced obsession is like trying to build a sandcastle. It might look impressive for a moment, but with the first gust of wind, it collapses because it has no foundation. True obsession, the kind that lasts, the kind that anchors itself in a man's soul, cannot be manufactured from the outside. It must grow organically from within his own mind. And for that to happen, you cannot be the one who pushes, who pressures, who plays games. You have to be the one who, with an almost invisible subtlety, plants a seed and then withdraws, allowing his own psyche to do all the work. Stop trying to be the chess player who calculates every move. That energy is masculine and generates competition. True feminine power does not lie in strategy. It lies in influence. It's not about forcing his mind to think of you. It's about creating the conditions so that not thinking about you becomes, quite simply, impossible for him. And now that you have understood why your old tactics were doomed to fail, you are ready to learn the first principle of true influence. In the next point, I will reveal the secret of psychic inoculation, the art of planting an idea in his mind that he will believe was his own. You have understood that obvious tactics fail. Now I am going to introduce you to the first principle of subtle influence, the true art of genuine obsession. It's a concept I call psychic inoculation. Imagine an expert gardener. He doesn't force the seed to become a tree by yelling at it or pulling on it. He understands that his only job is to prepare the soil, plant the seed in the right place, water it once, and then step back, trusting that nature and the inherent power of the seed will do the rest. Psychic inoculation works under this same fundamental law of the human mind. An idea that we feel is our own, that germinates in our own mental garden, is infinitely more powerful than an idea that we feel was imposed on us from the outside. Forced obsession tries to hammer an idea into a man's head. I am desirable, think of me. Psychic inoculation, on the other hand, is the art of planting a seed of thought in the fertile soil of his subconscious, and then, with supreme elegance, withdrawing and letting his own mind water it, nurture it, and make it grow into a leafy tree that occupies his entire mental landscape. He won't feel that you made him think of you. He will feel that he, on his own, cannot stop doing it. How do you plant one of these seeds? It's not through direct statements, but through questions, observations, or stories that act as hooks for his curiosity and imagination. It is a communication that doesn't give answers, but rather generates questions in his mind. These seeds are designed to leave an open loop, an incomplete cognitive task that his brain, by its very nature, will feel the need to close. and in the process of trying to close it, he will think of you again and again. It's a form of conversational hypnosis where every word is designed not to inform, but to evoke. Let's look at some practical examples of these seeds, which are the true language of the subconscious. The seed of curiosity. In the middle of a fascinating conversation, right at the climax, you stop and say with a smile, this is a long story and maybe too intense for now. I'll tell you some other time. And you change the subject. You have planted a seed. His mind will be left wondering, what story? Why is it intense? When will she tell me? You have created an open loop that will compel him to think of you and seek another meeting to get the answer. The seed of a shared future. During a date, casually, while talking about travel, you say, "This reminds me of a little jazz festival they have in a coastal town. I've always wanted to go. I imagine it must be incredible at sunset with the right person." You haven't said, "We have to go." You haven't invited him. You have simply painted a picture in his mind, a future image charged with romanticism into which he can subtly project himself. And that image stays there, growing, working on his subconscious, making the idea of a future with you feel like his own idea. The seed of deep insight. This is one of the most potent, the true art of validation. It's about observing him and making a comment that reveals you've seen a quality in him that no one else sees. For example, everyone sees your strong and successful side, but I see that you have the soul of a poet that few understand. That sensitivity is your true power. You have planted the seed of "she truly sees me." And that feeling of being seen on a deep level is incredibly addictive. He will be left thinking about that phrase, about that perception you have of him, and he will long for more of that unique validation. Imagine the story of a woman we'll call Isabel. She was on a second date with a man. Instead of trying to impress him, she dedicated herself to planting seeds. She told him the beginning of an incredibly funny anecdote from a trip, and right at the best part, she laughed and said, "No, I'd better finish telling you another day." Later, when talking about music, he mentioned a little-known band. She, instead of saying, "I like them too," said, "That band has a song that perfectly describes the melancholy of a Sunday afternoon. It's fascinating." And she said no more. At the end of the date, he was visibly intrigued. The next day, he wrote to her, "I haven't been able to stop thinking about the end of your story and what that song is. I need to see you again." Isabel didn't have to ask for a third date. The seeds she planted made it inevitable. Psychic inoculation is an art that requires subtlety and, above all, detachment. You plant the seed and you forget about it. You trust that it will germinate. The woman who masters this technique stops being the one who chases a man's attention and becomes the gardener of his mind. And when you learn to cultivate his thoughts from within, you create a form of obsession that he perceives as completely his own. And now that you know how to plant the seed, you are ready for the great game changer, to discover which is the most powerful seed of all. In the next point, I will reveal the power of becoming the mirror of his hidden greatness, the secret to making him addicted, not to you, but to the version of himself that only exists by your side. You have learned the art of planting seeds in a man's mind. Now I am going to give you the master seed, the rarest, the most potent, the one that once planted germinates into a tree of obsession so deep that its roots become entangled with his very soul. And this seed, my dear soul, is the game changer that changes everything. The deepest secret to making a man obsessed is not to make him think about how incredible you are. It is to make it so that when he thinks of you, he thinks about how incredible he is. It's about becoming the mirror of his hidden greatness. It is to reflect back to him not the man he is today, with his fears and limitations, but the man that he, in the depths of his being, yearns to become. This is the highest form of psychic inoculation. You don't plant an idea in him, you plant an identity. Every man, no matter how successful or confident he may seem, walks through the world with an idealized version of himself in his unconscious. It is his archetype of the hero, the king, the sage. It is the man who is brave, honorable, brilliant, powerful, and he spends most of his life feeling that he is not living up to that ideal. The outside world often reflects his failures, his weaknesses, his shortcomings. His boss demands more from him. Society pressures him. Other relationships may have criticized him. And then a woman comes along. A woman who, with the intuition of a psychic and the precision of an artist, looks through his facade, through his insecurities, and sees not the man he is, but the king he could be. And she not only sees it, but she reflects it back to him. And this act, this gesture of seeing and validating his highest potential, is the most addictive emotional drug a man will ever find. How does one become this mirror? It's not through empty flattery telling him, "You're the best." That flatters his ego and sounds false, generic. It is much more subtle. It's about being an archaeologist of his soul, listening to his stories, and instead of paying attention to the facts, paying attention to the virtues that those facts reveal. It's about identifying a seed of that greatness in his actions and magnifying it. If he tells you how he overcame a small challenge at work, instead of saying, "Good job," you look him in the eyes and say with a soft seriousness, "I deeply admire the way your strategic mind solves problems." It's a quality of a true leader. You have reflected his inner king back to him. If in a moment of doubt, he shares a fear about the future with you, instead of saying, "Don't worry, everything will be fine," you say to him, "The fact that you dare to face that uncertainty head-on and still keep moving forward shows me the immense courage you have. That's admirable." You have reflected his inner hero back to him. If he shares a deep idea or reflection on life with you, you say, "That's one of the things that fascinates me most about you. Your ability to see the world in such a deep and wise way, beyond the superficial." You have reflected his inner sage back to him. What you are doing is not lying. You are acting like an alchemist. You are taking the lead of his daily reality, of his small actions, and showing him the gold of his potential that is hidden inside. And when a man sees himself through your eyes, and the image he sees is that of the man he has always dreamed of being, magic happens. He begins to feel like a giant in your presence, like a king. And the world outside of your presence, where he is once again an ordinary man dealing with his problems, begins to seem gray and mediocre in comparison. He becomes addicted not to you, but to the feeling of being his best version, a feeling he only experiences with you. You become the only mirror in the world that reflects his true greatness, and who in their right mind would want to break or walk away from such a mirror? Imagine the story of a man who was dating two women. The first one constantly flattered him. She told him how handsome and successful he was. It was nice, but superficial. The second, on the other hand, rarely complimented him on his appearance. But one day, after he told her a story about how he had defended a colleague in a meeting, she fell silent and then said to him, "You have a sense of honor and justice that is hard to find anymore. You are a good man in the deepest sense of the word." He confessed that this phrase disarmed him. No one had ever validated his honor, and he realized he wanted to spend the rest of his life with the only woman in the world who saw not his success, but his soul. This is the secret that 99% of women do not know. They are too busy trying to prove how incredible they are, when the real power lies in showing him how incredible he is. Become the mirror of his hidden greatness. Look for the gold in him and show it to him. And he will not only become obsessed with you, he will see you as a magical being, the only sorceress capable of turning him into the king he was born to be. And that perception is the deepest anchor you can create in a man's heart. You have learned to be the mirror of his greatness, to become the source of the most addictive sensation he can experience. Now we come to a crucial point, the art of dosage. Because even the most wonderful drug, if administered constantly and without limit, loses its effect. The brain gets used to it. The magic fades. The secret to keeping his obsession healthy and his longing for you always alive is not to be a constant source of this validation, but to become a rare and precious oasis in the middle of his desert. It is the art of the intermittent dose. Let's think once more about the psychology of addiction. What keeps the mind hooked is not the certainty of the reward, but the uncertainty. It's the maybe today, maybe not. This intermittence is what creates anticipation, and anticipation is the most potent aphrodisiac of all. If every time you see him you become his mirror, if every conversation is full of deep validation, the experience, although wonderful, becomes predictable. He begins to take for granted that with you, he will always feel like a king. And while that's much better than nothing, it takes away the element of the hunt, of achievement. The woman who masters the art of subtle obsession understands that her validation is a treasure, and she doesn't give it away on every corner. She alternates her interactions naturally. Sometimes she is the deep mirror who sees his soul, and other times she is simply a fun, light-hearted companion who talks about trivial things and is more focused on her own joy. Sometimes she is incredibly present and connected, and other times she is a bit more distant, absorbed in her own universe, in her own thoughts. It's not a game of being hot and cold from a place of manipulation. It is an authentic reflection of her own rich and multifaceted life. She is not always in healer mode or muse mode. Sometimes she is simply being herself with her different moods and focuses of attention. Imagine you are an oasis in the desert. If the traveler knows that he will always, without fail, find fresh water in you, he will walk towards you with the calmness of certainty. It's pleasant, but it's not exciting. But if he knows that sometimes the oasis is overflowing with water and other times it is drier, reflecting the natural cycle of the seasons, each time he approaches, he will do so with a mixture of hope and excitement. And each time he finds water, the pleasure will be immensely greater, because it was not guaranteed. It was a gift of the moment. Your task is to be that intermittent oasis, not because you are capricious, but because you have your own seasons, your own inner climate. How is this applied in practice elegantly? Not all conversations have to be deep. Allow yourself to have light, even slightly superficial, interactions. Talk about the weather, a TV series, nonsense. This makes it so that when you do offer that deep insight into his soul, the moment has a much greater impact by contrast, like a flash of lightning on a calm night. Don't always be in unconditional support mode. If he is complaining about something for the 10th time and you don't have the energy to be his mirror, instead of forcing yourself, you can use humor and lightheartedness. It seems that topic has really got you hooked, huh? Well, moving on to something more fun. You are subtly teaching him that your validation energy is not an unlimited, on-demand resource. Have days where your energy is for you. There will be days when you don't feel like being anyone's mirror. And on those days, you give yourself permission to be quieter, more introverted, more focused on your own things. And this authenticity, this variability, is what makes you real and unpredictable. The intermittent dose keeps him in a state of healthy uncertainty and respect. He never knows which version of you he is going to find, and this keeps him mentally hooked, attentive, present, trying to earn your best energy. You are naturally creating the variable reward pattern, which is the basis of all healthy addiction. Stop feeling the pressure to be perfect and deep in every interaction. Allow yourself to be human, to be cyclical, to be changeable. Be the ocean sometimes and the oasis at others, because it is in that dance between abundance and scarcity where his longing for you will never, ever find rest. And now that you know how to administer your power, you are ready for the final touch. In the next point, I will give you the ritual so that your energetic footprint stays with him, turning your absence into a kind of phantom presence. You have learned to plant the seed of his greatness and to administer it in intermittent doses. Now we arrive at the master's final touch, the ritual that ensures the effect of your presence doesn't end when you say goodbye. It is the ritual of the phantom presence. Its objective is to leave an energetic footprint, an emotional anchor so potent and so well placed in his memory that long after you have gone, he continues to feel you by his side. It is the secret to making your absence not a void, but a space inhabited by your essence. And it is this phantom presence that will keep him thinking about you, replaying your encounter, and desperately longing for the next one. This is the true secret of obsession. It's not what you do when you are there, but what he feels when you leave. This ritual is not something you do after you leave. It is something you do in the last moment of the interaction, at the farewell. It is your energetic signature, the seal you leave on his psyche. It is a deliberate and conscious act that requires presence and subtlety. It consists of two components that, when combined, are devastatingly potent: a final microdose and an enigmatic withdrawal. 1. The final microdose, the unforgettable anchor. Just before you say goodbye, when the conversation is already coming to a natural end, look for the moment to deliver one last, concentrated microdose of the energy you want him to remember. This is not a grand declaration, but a subtle and powerful gesture. It is your final hook. The best microdoses are those that combine validation, the mirror of his greatness, with physical or visual contact, creating a multi-sensory anchor. Example of a verbal and visual microdose. As you are getting up to leave, stop for a second. Take the time to really look him in the eyes with total calm and tell him with a soft but meaningful smile, "I loved our conversation today. It's been a while since I connected with a mind as interesting as yours." And you say no more. You have anchored the feeling of being interesting and unique. Example of a physical and verbal microdose. When saying goodbye with a hug, instead of a quick hug, make it last a second longer than normal, allowing him to feel your warmth and your calm. And just before letting go, whisper a single short phrase in his ear that summarizes a virtue you saw in him that night, like, "You are so brave," or "Your passion is incredible." You have anchored the feeling of warmth, care, and admiration. Example of an enigmatic microdose. Just before you turn to leave, laugh softly as if you remembered something. If he asks what you're laughing about, simply reply, "Oh, nothing," or "Everything. I'll tell you later." You have planted a final seed of curiosity, an open loop that will leave him intrigued. This final microdose is the last brushstroke on the painting you leave in his memory. It will be the freshest memory, and therefore the one his mind will replay with more intensity during your absence. It is the taste that lingers on his emotional palate. 2. The enigmatic withdrawal. Leave him longing. Immediately after delivering your microdose, you leave, and you leave with an energy of purpose. You don't drag out the goodbye. You don't stay to see his reaction. You have delivered your gift, and you retreat with the elegance of someone who knows her work is done and has a fascinating world to return to. This is the principle of ending on a high note that we already know, but applied to perfection. The combination of a positive emotional peak, the microdose, followed by a clean, drama-free absence, your withdrawal, is what creates the strongest anchor. His system is left vibrating with that last pleasant sensation, and the only way to feel it again is to come looking for you again. You don't give the energy time to fade. You leave him forever with the feeling of the climax. Imagine the story of a woman we'll call Clara. After a wonderful date, as they were walking to their cars, he confessed a small insecurity to her. Instead of giving him advice, Clara stopped, put a hand on his arm, looked at him with total empathy and said, "That honesty is what makes you incredibly attractive." And right after that microdose of deep validation, she smiled, gave him a quick kiss on the cheek and said, "It's been a perfect night. Rest well." And she left without looking back. Clara didn't wait for his thank you. She didn't ask, "Will I see you soon?" She delivered her masterstroke and disappeared into the night. The man later confessed that he was left paralyzed on the sidewalk. He spent the whole way home repeating that phrase in his head, still feeling the warmth of her hand on his arm. Clara's phantom presence accompanied him all night and for the following days. This ritual is the final act of sowing. Not only have you planted a seed in his mind, you have watered it one. Last time with a drop of extremely potent nectar before letting nature, his own obsessed mind, do the rest. And the result is that your absence becomes a presence, an energetic footprint that he cannot and does not want to erase from his system. And so, you have arrived at the end of this journey, but at the true beginning of your power. The knowledge you now hold is not just information, it is a spiritual key that unlocks a new dimension of influence. You are no longer the woman who hopes to be. Noticed, you have become the silent architect of his reality, the sacred mirror to his soul. You now understand that true, lasting obsession is not chased. It is inspired. It is not manufactured through desperate actions, but cultivated through the profound, invisible influence that Carl Jung knew governed the deepest parts of the human spirit. This is why your commitment, right now, is so crucial. The wisdom you've received today is just the beginning. There are deeper layers of feminine energy and psychological mastery that we are destined to explore together. A shocking number of you who feel this powerful shift happening within you have not yet subscribed to the channel. By remaining a casual viewer, you risk letting the algorithm hide the next vital secret from you. To ensure you continue on this path of transformation, take one powerful second right now to hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications. Consider it an act of devotion to the powerful woman you are becoming. As a sign of that commitment, press the like button now. Let it be your signal to the universe that you have absorbed this lesson and are ready to wield it with elegance and wisdom. And finally, to truly anchor this teaching in your spirit, go to the comments right now and declare your power with one single, potent word. Don't write a long sentence, just write this word, awakened. That one word will be your testament. It will tell me, and more importantly, it will tell yourself that the wise sorceress within you is now fully awake and ready to create the reality she desires.